John Fredericks, America's Godzilla of Truth. He's popular and proficient in picking politics with prophetic precision. And now J. Fred's picking sports. Are y'all ready for this? All across the airwaves and streams of the John Fredericks Media Network, John, Jack, and Nate, three guys that are pretty wise when it comes to picking winners. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf, UFC battles, you name it. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Before you make that play, hear what J. Fred has to say. Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Oh yeah, for entertainment purposes only.
Good morning and welcome everyone to another episode of Godzilla Wins. We have a loaded show, loaded with guests. We have Mitch Rogers and Dan Angel for both 2 hours. We have John Fredericks probably coming late as usual. I am carrying on the family tradition and doing this show with spotty hotel Wi-Fi. So at any moment there could be a new host and not me. So just apologies for any future problems that arise as people start waking up and sucking all the bandwidth out of this hotel internet. So yeah, it's going to be a loaded show. We're talking baseball for the first hour. We're talking AL MVP. We're talking about why the White Sox suck so much. We're talking about the Astros because John can't leave it alone, so we just have to have a segment for it. And then we'll top off the hour with some best bets. And then the second hour, we're going to go to NFL. NFL season is starting soon. We have preseason games going. Training camp, blah, 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 trade rumors, all of it. Brandon Ayuk, where is he going to go? Is he going to get traded from the 49ers? Is Mike McDonald even going to have a team, or the Seahawks just going to all beat each other up and end on the IR before the season even starts? We have a whole bunch going on, and then finally we'll cap off the second hour with golf picks. So, quick disclaimer, this is a gambling show, and it is here to provide entertainment and should be viewed as that and nothing more. If you choose to participate in sports betting or gambling, we encourage you to do so responsibly. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, DC, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY if you live in New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Kansas or Nevada. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF if you live in Iowa, and call 1-800-270-7117 for help in Michigan. All right. So we start the week off like we always do with our little weekly obsession. I'm going to lead off because I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about how silly it is. It's an Olympic topic, but it's maybe not one that people are thinking about, but we're not getting into some of these. I've been thinking a lot about the outrage over breakdance, the breaking events as they've been going on, and people have been outraged at sort of perhaps the lack of quality of the dancing from some. I think the millennials are just struggling with the fact that like breakdancing is a derogatory term now, and we all have to say breaking, which makes me feel like I'm 1,000 years old. And I think that like all I keep thinking about is it's a new event, right? The host gets to choose a new event. They chose breaking as an event to award Olympic gold medals. And I just keep thinking this isn't like that crazy, like all this outrage. And it's like, but we're fine with dressage for the last 30 years. And we're fine with all these other, we've had synchronized swimming for my whole life. Like we've had like, all these like sort of like dance things in gymnastics, open floor sort of dancing. And then suddenly this is like where we culturally draw the line is breaking. And it just feels like totally ridiculous to me. It doesn't look like it's going to be an Olympic event in LA in 2028. But just like this sort of like faux outrage that we can't have sort of a fun event has just been enjoyable for me to watch. And we act like, having like 19 different fencing versions is totally acceptable. But like once we like start dancing competitively, then that's where we like draw the line. And that just seems totally absurd to me.
All right, you got to fill me in. Why aren't we allowed to call it breakdancing?
They call it breaking now. That's the new term for it.
I think, you know what I think, because
I prefer not to say breakdancing.
we're only fixed into what in our area, and for us, breakdancing was huge. And when I was like 5 years old, like 1982, and I don't think we realized that it's still a phenomenon like in other countries. And
It's an Olympic sport, man.
yeah, but it feels like Carl Lewis should be racing and breakdancing should be happening. Like that was the era that it was popular for me. But the one girl going viral for that crazy whatever it was is pretty funny, like the slow motion.
Oh yeah, the Australian professor who made the breaking team and had to compete by herself. Yeah, but it's all been sort of interesting. I mean, it's like the Olympics, like it's like fun, right? Like we don't like not every event needs to be like serious. Like there's tons of like ridiculous events. Like I don't know why like we need to be like mad about like this specific event.
Yeah, I got obsessed with the pole vaulting. Obviously, the funny story with the Frenchman, that was funny. But I love watching Mondo Duplantis have the crowd wait, and the crowd loved it. Waited for over an hour after he already had the gold medal. Wait for him to do those 2 attempts to break the world record. I was obsessed with that. I was obsessed with the fact that the reaction from the crowds in this Olympics, because the last one was after COVID, it felt a little bit downtrodden. This one has had the pomp and circumstance and excitement, and that kind of capped it for me.
Yeah, definitely. Dan, what are you obsessed with this week?
Well, that we're finally about to have the return of soccer for most of the European leagues coming up. So be interesting to see what happens in England. Germany's still 2 weeks away. England starts next week. So finally getting out of the dark ages of summer.
Getting all that prep done for the season.
Yeah. There we go. It's just gonna be nice to have something to watch after I get done on the air.
All of us are worried about the NFL season, and Dan's worried about what they're doing in Europe.
He brought up football. To be fair,
football.
He did bring up
football. Yeah. Everyone's thinking about football.
I am also thinking about American football, just college. We have that coming up this month too.
We do. John, what have you been obsessed with?
The hype over preseason football and whether or not you win games is like so absurdly ridiculous. And it's like you're playing your starters. You're not even playing them the first game, and if they are, they're playing for a set. They're playing for one series, and so you can't learn anything by it. And people actually watch it, gambling on it. Like I got somebody, I got DraftKings sending me, bet these games. Like, well, what? Like, I might as well just bet, how tall a weed is going to grow, or if the fly goes out the window. I mean, it's totally asinine.
Sportsbook is off.
I mean, I really get the fact that people are fired up about football. But we got college football starting in a few weeks. Let's talk about something meaningful, not the first preseason game, which is basically all the newcomers in, none of the starters, and the whole thing is ridiculous. Now, I get following the camps, like I follow the Titans camp. I subscribe to the Nashville, Tennessee, and Gannett Rag, or whatever it is, Libtard Rag, for $10 a month just to get their beat writers, so I got to give them money. I get it. But, so I'm following the camp. But I get this thing, tune in tonight, Tennessee, San Francisco. Let's see how Will Levis does. He's gonna play one series and throw one pass. So the whole thing is hyped to absurd
He's gonna throw one pass,
levels.
one interception, and call it a day.
Well, that's normally what he did at Kentucky. But I got to tell you, a lot of people in Titans Nation don't see him. I just got to be honest with you. I mean, there's because Mitch, how you have the groups and all that, and the blogs, and that you get involved in, when you're a football fan. But like, I can't find anybody, including my son. I can't find anybody that's a believer in Will Levis. I just can't find anybody. So except me, I just love the fact he's got a big arm. Tannehill didn't have a big arm, so it's been a long time. It's been really since it's been a long time. It's almost, you got to go back to Moon. McNair had an okay arm. It's been a long time since we had a big arm. So I'm kind of excited about that. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So that's our weekly obsession. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about Healthy Cell, one of our proud sponsors?
I mean, I feel so good at my age. It's really incredible. The schedule I keep. Like, I drove back from Virginia Beach last night. We had some things that Joe and I had to tie up there in Virginia. And so he had some business going on. I mean, I got back. I drove a U-Haul back. We had to clean out the final storage bin and give a lot of stuff away and things of that nature. But, I got home at almost midnight. Here I am up today. But as soon as I got home and I settled in, I took my REM sleep. I take my bio every day. I sleep like a baby. And the beauty of this is that you're going to get a good night's sleep, and it is so easy to do, and it's not habit forming. And you've got to get that replenished sleep. And I'm telling you, if you're not taking this for the money it costs, I mean, it's a few dollars a day, for the money it costs and for the result you're going to get, I mean, you're just depriving your body of that good night's sleep where everything replenishes. Love my REM sleep, travel with it. Joe's got it, Ann's got it, Claire's got it, Jack's got it. Whole family has it. When I promote something and my whole family is on it, well, you got to figure it works, right? Because I'm not going to give anything to my family that doesn't work. They're all on it, and they're all sleeping great. And I jump out of bed fresh as a daisy every day, like today, after getting back at midnight, driving nine hours. All you got to do is go to healthycell.com/Godzilla, healthycell.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla. You're going to save 20% off your first order. Give it a shot. First night, you're going to thank me. And then you're going to keep ordering it because you're going to get hooked on it, because you're going to sleep, you're going to get those dreams and all that good stuff. Now, one of their executives there, Tara, is a Seattle Mariners fan. So, Tara, I'm going to send you this promo, and you guys are going down. I just want you to know, again, against half a team. And so, sorry, Tara, Mariners go down again. Astros win the division. It's all good. HealthyCell.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla, 20% off. Pirates.
All right.
What's up with your Pirates, Mitch?
Oh,
it's a tough schedule. Right. Yeah, they suck. I don't know.
Let's talk about another bad team here for a second. The Chicago White Sox recently lost 21 games in a row. They also recently fired their manager, Pedro Grifol, after basically 2 seasons at the helm. Dan, why did this take so long? Did it take too long to fire this manager, to reboot, or is it not really his fault?
Yeah, it's like, that was the problem. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but the White Sox, basically what they've done to Grifol is the equivalent of a general sending his army into battle with no weapons, no armor, and then being shocked when they don't take the hill. Like, what were the White Sox expecting was going to happen? They basically ran out a AA team for the last year and a half, and they're surprised that they're 40 games out of first and they've got 90 defeats. I mean, I'm sorry, this makes no sense. This team can't do anything except starting pitching. They do have some starting pitching at their disposal. The starters are not horrible, but the bullpen is awful. The team can't hit worth anything. I'm sorry, this was never going to work. And the White Sox, it seemed like they were just following the blueprint of the Astros and the Orioles, which, fine, it's worked. Go ahead and do that. But then you go and fire the manager. It's not his fault.
Yeah. What do we think? I mean, let's open it up here.
It feels like it. Reinsdorf had to do something at 28 and 89 in the 22 game losing streak. So you had to do something. But I like some of the local spin where they're like, "Oh, Grifol, we thought he'd be able to do this. He was the bench coach for the Royals when they won the World Series." I'm like, why would you not going to take that team? It wasn't like you were the coach. And I don't. I understand why they had to fire him. It's not his fault. I was a big Grady Sizemore fan as a youth, or a few years. I wasn't even a youth. I was in my 30s. But I'm happy for him. But the fact he's only going to get a couple months and he's just going to be run right out of there. It'll be interesting to see who the next general they throw out there to just get his troops murdered.
Yeah, what do you do now? That's the thing. It's like so you have no team, right? And you can't fire the team because they're under contract. That's too expensive. You have to trot somebody out there. But it's who do you find that wants to manage this mess? There has to be so few people that look at this and think this is an awesome opportunity for me to prove what I'm worth as a manager right now.
It's got to be a minor league. It's got to be a minor league manager looking for a shot. Maybe win some games, try to get some excitement in there. This is an example of why I didn't like the lottery system in baseball, and I get the whole tanking thing, but these kids there are not tanking. They're just AA players. Dan nailed it. This isn't even a AAA club. I'll tell you the other thing I've noticed about baseball, Dan, and everybody involved here. The difference between AAA and the major leagues, the gap's grown. That's just my observation. I think the gap has grown. I don't know if it's because they cut 30%, 35% of the minor league teams out, but I think the gap's grown. And when you get to AA, there's just a huge jump there. And so I think some managers will take it, but I don't like the lottery because the Chicago White Sox should get the first pick. I mean, the fact that they might not, and it might go to like the Pirates or somebody that missed the playoffs by a game just because you pull it out of a hat. I think it's totally unfair. I mean, the White Sox should get the first
wait a
pick.
minute, John. Why is that unfair? Like, why should the White Sox get rewarded for ineptitude?
Because they had the worst record. I mean, these kids are not trying to lose. They're not going out there trying to lose, right? They're going out there doing the best they can. They're overmatched.
And we got booted down to the second division in Finland.
I don't know about. I mean, Finland's rolled a vaccine out that you got a 1 out of 200% chance of dying, and they're making their people take it. So I don't think Finland. I just don't think Finland is an example when they're doing a bird flu virus that they say 1 out of 200 people will die, but you have to take it to keep your job. So I would have put Finland in there if I were you. Right?
Okay,
I think the White Sox should get the first pick.
Country. John, it's just because my team happens to be in Finland. That's why I used it. So let's leave out the Finnish politics and just focus on sports here.
Crazy stuff going on there.
Yeah. So in other sports, so this is Dan talking in favor of relegation systems.
Yeah. Why are we the only country that rewards failure? Like you finish
failure. It's like the worst record in the NFL. You get the first pick. It's not.
Yeah.
These kids are trying to win. You get the worst
record in the Premier League. You're off to the championship.
Well, I mean, the reason for those lotteries is to stop teams from tanking. So I mean, that's the reason for it. Relegation would be fine.
Maybe they did that in basketball, but these kids playing baseball are not out there. They're not out there trying to lose. And you say,
basketball is a problem to baseball.
It doesn't matter.
I'm not an NBA guy. I don't follow it. I don't really care about the league, so I have no comment on it. Okay, you guys can talk about the NBA. I just don't like the lottery system in baseball, and I don't like it in football. And I don't think they should have it in football either. These kids are not. These kids. Now you can say, well, the ownership. I mean, if you want to go back to the Astros and say the ownership did nothing to improve the team, so they could stockpile draft picks. Well, they had to get their fans through 3 seasons of losing 110 games. I mean, that's painful. I mean, they had to get through that, and their fan base went down. They didn't get a TV contract, so there's consequences that go with it. So the idea that people just tank teams in order to get first rounders, I just don't buy it.
There's consequences with relegation. I mean, you get booted out, your players' contracts go down, your money goes down. And you're playing teams that are on a much lower scale. Like, why is it? Like, it's just an interesting dichotomy to me how we are the socialists in sports and Europe is hardcore capitalists.
It is an interesting dichotomy. All right, so just to dovetail off this a little bit, it's something that I've been sort of thinking about. So Grafal is sort of the first one to go down this season. Is there another manager that's going to get fired mid-season? Is there another sort of case where they're just going to make a move now?
I mean,
we're in August, right? We're in August. I mean, you're not going to fire the Oakland guy. Actually, Oakland's done better than a lot of people thought. They actually have a pretty good team. They're kind of dangerous in a lot of ways. So who are you really going to fire? I mean, the Cubs just got their manager, Counsell. They're not going to fire him. They've underperformed. The Reds have underperformed, but, they do have a young team, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, you go around the league and who's really underperformed? It would have to be the Blue Jays, right? I mean, that would be the team, Dan, that you would say, well, these are the biggest underperformers. And I forget who their manager is. A big guy with the big shoulders.
John Snyder.
Yeah, Schneider. But the Blue Jays have underperformed for a long time. If you're a Blue Jays fan, you got to be really upset by this, because this was supposed to be an Astros type dynasty with all those young players, and they just continue to underperform season after season after season. They can't win a playoff series. Now they're last place. So I don't see what the point is of keeping Schneider.
You wonder, what about Bud
you're
Black
right.
with the Rockies too? The Rockies coming off their 100-loss season last year, and they're in last place again this year. Yeah, I know there was a lot of clamoring in July about him as well.
But were the Rockies supposed to do anything?
Right.
No.
I mean, it's almost like with the A's. Kotze could also be, but again, the same thing as the White Sox. It's not their fault.
Like Oakland and Colorado seem like so just sort of like apathetic that they're like, whatever, like we'll just keep riding this out. Like
Oakland especially.
And I will tell you,
Oakland hasn't been that terrible.
No, they haven't. They haven't.
I'll tell you what, it's not going to be a mid-season fire, but I don't think Clint Hurdle with the Pirates lasts after this year. There's just too many ill rosters that go out. When Skeens is pitching or when Keller's out there and the implosion. I don't know. I think he could be on the.
I mean, he can.
I agree with you.
He can only do what the front office gives him.
Right. The Bednar moves are bad. I mean, rolling Bednar out there when it's been obvious for the last few weeks that he shouldn't be the closer anymore. When you have a guy that's pitching 105 miles per hour, setting him up. I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of frustration, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of calling except for in the Blue Jays land.
Yeah, I would think Toronto makes the most sense. I mean, everyone else is at least within shouting distance, or their manager is too new.
Yeah. Or I mean, the Bednar example, I think is classic. I mean, he keeps rolling them out. I mean, he had a couple good seasons. He doesn't throw hard, and people have figured him out. I mean, they just figured him out. And so, he's seeing teams now and players 5 and 6 and 7 times over 2 seasons, and his stuff is okay. But, he's not like, remember the guy on San Diego, the saves leader that threw like 87 miles an hour. He threw
Trevor
like
Hoffman.
95. He threw like 95 changeups. Who was that?
Trevor Hoffman.
Yeah, Trevor. He had like 8 changeups. Okay, that guy was special. Okay, he was different. Bednar's not Trevor Hoffman, and he just doesn't have the velo, and they figured him out. And now they're blowing saves, which is really devastating for a team, as you guys know, when you're in the playoff hunt. And they got that guy throwing 98. Give him a shot. I think Hurdle just got stubborn. But when you see his like post game, because I'm here in Pittsburgh, right? So it's on TV. So you see his post game press conferences, like I'm like watching this guy, a couple times a week, and I'm like, what the hell is he even saying? And he's got that beard going. I just don't see the guy. I think he gets fired. I really do.
All right, John, we're about to move into your favorite topic here.
I got a lot of favorite topics.
The Astros, your favorite topic. The Astros are not playing well right now. They were 14th in ESPN's latest power rankings, which means almost nothing. But things haven't been going well for them offensively lately. They've, basically cooled off considerably since a little sort of push last month. How are you feeling about the Astros? We got Verlander on the DL. We got doesn't look like Tucker's going to be back anytime soon with his shin bruise that seems to be like the worst shin bruise of all time. So how are you feeling about the Astros and sort of moving forward?
You just got to take it a day at a time. I mean, it's very frustrating right now because we don't score. One of the best hitting teams in baseball. They were able to navigate their way through Tucker being out of the lineup, but now the wheels have come off. I mean, they were fortunate to win last night. They scored 8 runs, but game after game, they're scoring 1, 2, 3 runs. I mean, you just can't win with that in the major leagues. Tucker has no timetable. Kyle Tucker has no timetable. First, they said after the All-Star break. Then they said August. Now they're saying September. Now they're not saying anything. He still can't run. He could be out the season or maybe out until the playoffs come. I don't know. Certainly, Verlander coming back is a big deal. The trade they made with Toronto, Yase Kuchuchi, or I can't even say his name. Yeah, Kuchuchi. I mean, everybody blasted that trade. He's had 2 awesome starts. So you could say that right now he could possibly save the team because they didn't have any starters. But, all of a sudden now these guys that were hitting at the bottom of the order are not hitting. Mars is not hitting. McCormick's not hitting. Dubon's not hitting. Singleton, he's really not a major league hitter. Sometimes he had a good game last night. And it puts a lot of pressure on the top 4 or 5 guys in that lineup. So they got some real issues. Verlander gets a rehab start on Sunday. So he's got to come back. Garcia, he's not coming back this season. You can forget him. He's now not pitching. McCullers is out for another season. You forget that. Graveman's not coming back till next season. So we just got a lot of issues. And we just got to hang on and hope for the best. Hope Tucker comes back. But the good news is with all these injuries and everything that's happened, today you wake up there in first place, and they just beat the Red Sox last night. Tell you what, one inning of I just got to tell you this. For you old baseball fans, old school, Dan, you would love this. Bottom of the 7th inning, right? 5-3 Astros. Cora puts in 4 pinch hitters in a row. 4. The Astros put in 3 different pitchers. This is like old school baseball. And he pinch hit a right-hander. Espada took the right-hander out, took the left-hander out, put a right-hander in, and then he pinch hit for the pinch hitter who never saw a pitch. So wow. I can't remember the last time as a purist baseball fan that I saw a manager with 4 pinch hitters in the same inning, one of them who didn't even see a pitch, and 3 pitchers, because you have to pitch to 3 people. So right. I just that was kind of except if you were, I guess the rule is if you pitch the inning before, you don't have to pitch 3 batters the next inning if you face 2 the inning before. So anyway, Astros put in 3 pitchers. He clears his bench. They don't score. They leave the bases loaded. But that was old school management baseball. It was kind of fun to watch.
You're the eternal optimist, John. What do you see going forward for the Astros? Where does the season end for them?
I think we're going to win the division, and Seattle's going to tank. They're going to choke like they always do at the end. Texas is not hitting either, so they're just not winning games. So I think we, sneak in and win the division, and then you go from there. I mean, I'm not going to predict beyond that. Obviously on DraftKings to win the World Series, I think they're 19 or 18-1. So obviously people don't think much of their chances. But I just want to get in the playoffs. Let's get in the playoffs. We got 3 solid starting pitchers. We'll get Verlander back. Let's win that first series and go from there. But you got to get in the play. And there's no wild card opportunity, so you have to win the division. So it's going to be a dogfight. Look, all a fan asks for, Mitch, and I've said this since my kids were little. All you ask for is your team playing meaningful games in September? That, as a fan, that's all you want, right? Are they playing meaningful games? Pittsburgh's playing meaningful games. Astros are playing meaningful games. I turn the game on. A win matters. A hit matters. A strikeout matters. That's all a fan wants. Am I playing meaningful games in September? And with all the problems the Astros have had,
playing meaningful games in April.
Dan, what do we see as a realistic path for the Astros moving forward with all of these injuries and everything that's going on with the team? Is the division still really a thing that they should be expecting?
Yeah, I mean, Seattle can't hit.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, Texas is too far away. The Angels are still the Angels. Oakland's not going to be a threat. So it's a 2-team race, and Seattle can't hit worth anything. So Houston's going to win this division, and that's probably going maybe the Astros get through on the first round, but I really would not love their chances against Minnesota or Kansas City.
Fair enough.
And
Mitch, what do you think?
If they do get past that, then facing either the Yankees or Baltimore in that second round series is going to be very tough. But I do think the Astros will win the West.
Yeah, I like their veteran leadership. Verlander coming back. He's in his first AAA start in Sugarland today or tomorrow, I believe. And every time he's inserted in that lineup, it just seems like a shot in the arm. So yeah, I am with you. Seattle just can't hit, and I just think
Seattle
they'll figure it out. And
it might be a little bit higher, but the last time I checked, Seattle's average was the same as the White Sox, worst in the majors.
Oh, by the way, I have to correct my Pittsburgh Nation just came after me. It's, Derek, I kept saying Clint Hurdle. It's Derek Shelton, the Pirates manager. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 14 years ago, I'm
Yeah.
stuck in a bubble. Yeah, sorry about
that. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us.
It's your Veteran Stadium moment, Mitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just going to say, let's not talk about where stadiums are for too long. Otherwise, we'll get
Three Rivers
far off the path.
Oh, Lord.
All right. Okay, so we have another sponsor here, and I can take a shot at this live read here. Have you read about the possible side effects of taking ibuprofen? To top it all off, ibuprofen doesn't even get to the main cause of your pain and swelling problems. It's only temporary pain relief, and it's masking the true problem, which is inflammation. This isn't a solution to your pain, but right now you can get getnativepath.com/Godzilla wins to learn more and see your special offer for being our listener. That's why researchers are saying this Antarctic super nutrient you should add to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. These are omega-3 fatty acids sourced from wild-caught krill. This krill oil is pure, effective, and easily absorbed by the body with zero fishy taste. Omega-3 content from krill oil has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as to reduce inflammation, swelling, joint pain. Better yet, for a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for as low as $19 a bottle with free shipping plus a free gift. Just go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla wins right now to get your special offer for being our listener. John, you've been taking krill oil, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I take krill oil, I take collagen, I take Healthy Cell. I mean, I have a very tough schedule, and I mean, I'm getting 5-6 hours of sleep a night max. I do a lot in a day, and I want to be around. I want to be healthy. I want to see, Joe hopefully pitch a lot this spring with West Virginia, and from there, I want to spend time with my wife. I mean, I have a very full life. We got all the politics things going on. You do the bus tours. We're driving around the country, so you got to stay healthy. And, I mean, I don't eat the way I should because you're on the road a lot and you got a lot of different things. But I found that krill oil, which I've been taking now along with collagen for about a month, I mean, I just feel better. And sometimes it's just a combination of things. But I got a lot of aches and pains going on. And I just don't have them to the extent I did. And so I don't know what to attribute that to. But certainly the krill oil, it's a fish oil that is part of one of the things that the body needs. And, I was going down a bad path there, taking a leave every day, Advil every day, Advil in the afternoon, to leave when I got up. I mean, that's just a bad path. It's not sustainable. And, your business partner there, my son, Jack, was really on me for this stuff. Like, you got to start taking care of yourself, Dad. So, and now I'm doing some things that are making a difference. I've lost 25 pounds, so I feel good about that. So, we'll see what happens. But krill oil, a very essential thing you need along with collagen. And you can just go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla, getnativepath.com/Godzilla. It's all there. The collagen is only $21. I mean, you spend that at Starbucks. I was coming back last night. I stopped at one of these, what do they call them, Mitch, like on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, like the Sunoco service stations or something.
The all-in-ones.
Yep.
Whatever it is. I don't know what I stopped at. I get gas, and I'm like, oh, I guess I got to get something to eat. So, I go in there, and I guess what was there? There was a
Roy Rogers.
Roy Rogers, right? Exactly.
I know exactly.
I haven't been there in ages. And I don't eat bread anymore. So I'm like, what can I eat? So I get the chicken strips, right? So I get chicken strips.
That's just bread.
Not bread.
I know, but what I mean, that my options are limited, right? So I get 4 chicken strips, and I get a large coffee, which probably Arby's is the last place you want to get coffee. You've probably been there since Wednesday. So I get a large coffee, and then I get a bottle of water, right? $19. I mean, it's like, what did I get?
This is where you just stop at the Sheets in Breezewood.
I mean, it's just insane. Prices are insane out there. And it's like, what the hell?
That's the turnpike. I mean, they have you over a barrel.
Yeah.
I'll give you this. I think it was Roy Rogers. Their chicken strips were good. So I'll give you that. Coffee was piss poor, but the chicken strips were good.
All right, back to baseball. Back to baseball. Dave Roberts has
out Pennsylvania.
yeah, enough gas station food talk. All right, so we're back to so Dave Roberts is back to being the clown that we all know and hate. He got his first ejection of the season a couple of days ago, and it triggered in his mind a 5-run 6th inning that cost the Dodgers the game. He complained about it after the game and said, blah, 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 umpiring's hard. And these umpires cost us the game because after that call, his pitchers couldn't pitch anymore. I don't know. How do we feel about it? Like, did the umpires give up 6 runs in that inning?
I like the way it was framed. So, yeah, I know Dave Roberts is absolutely complaining too much. But there is an ongoing, few years of umps just making bad calls, whether it's the egregious strike zone that we've seen over and over again, or this. And it was a bad call, in my opinion. And they were told the umps were told to emphasize this before the season started. And you've seen it a little bit, the obstruction call. But it seemed like he seemed like he had merit to complain about it. Now, did it cause his team to lose? I mean, that's another thing. It just sucks when you have the two best teams in baseball, and then him to do that and the umpire to overshadow it, with that call and his complaining when you had a great series, where they took 2 out of 3. So, but yeah, I think he was correct. It was a bad call, but I don't think it led to his team losing.
Dan?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's it reminds me a little bit of how St. Louis Cardinals fans still blame Don Denkinger for losing the 1985 World Series, despite the fact that the base runner the Cardinals eventually got that out anyway, still had a Game 7 and lost that one 11-0. And one bad call does not change things to that extent.
I mean, that's the thing, right? They go after that. The Phillies go ground out, and then they do wild pitch, Dodgers wild pitch, and then a 3-run homer from Schwarber. That's not a bad call. That's just you gotta get out still. Like you can't. John, what do you think? Are umpires taking over the game?
And also, Nate, there were no outs, correct?
I don't think so. None out.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're talking,
there's a runner on second and there's no outs when the call happens.
Yeah. If we're talking a situation where there's 2 outs, okay, maybe Roberts has an argument, but that 3-run homer still happens.
Right. Yeah.
It's baseball. You just get thrown out, man. He's just he's just trying to get his team. It had the opposite effect, and he got mad about it.
And let's not forget, the Phillies are the best team in baseball, or at least have the best record in the NL. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they just lost to some chumps. They
really seem to have the Dodgers number.
Yeah, which should be worrisome. Maybe that's why he was kind of freaking out a little bit more than maybe he would normally, is because it's a sort of a high intensity game and potentially a preview for to come later. John, give me your thoughts on this. I know you have strong thoughts on the Dodgers, everything.
Dodgers are whiners. That's what they do. They whine. Dave Roberts is a whiner. That's all they do. You got the most money. You spend the most money. You're right up there with the Yankees. You buy all the best players. Shut up and win games. If you don't win games, right? You can't win a playoff game. You guys spend all this money, then you whine about banging on garbage cans or something when all the games we won were at Dodger Stadium. Ridiculous. Okay, so all they do. When you got that much money and no salary cap, and you get Ohtani, you get whatever is the best player in the world ever, you get them all, and now you're whining about an umpire call? Dave Roberts, shut up. Okay, just get it out of my face. Until you guys start winning World Series on a consistent basis with all your money and all your trappings, just shut up. You're a bunch of whiners and a bunch of chokers and losers. That's what I have to say about that. So, Dave Roberts got thrown out of the game. He's tough. Get out of here, man. You spent $1 bajillion on your baseball team. Get out of my face. That's what I
should have just bought trash cans. That's all they needed.
That's all you needed. That's all they needed. All right, John, you're pretty focused right now, locked in. It looks like you might be at home or in the office. You got your beard vet around. You want to talk a little bit about
locked in, baby. Well, I got to go get some more. So now that you said it, I'm getting the cravings here. But I got my Beard Vet coffee. Go to beardvet.com. Great. It's the people's coffee. Just like this is the people's show. This is like the people's sports show. I mean, you tune into this show, you go to those ESPN shows. It's all hype. Come on, guys. This is a natural, ground up, grassroots. We're the working man's people sports show. And Beard Vet Coffee is the people's coffee. Because you know what? Pods are like 50 cents. You can buy a whole bunch of bags. They're not that expensive, right? It's not like you're going to Starbucks. I still don't get the Starbucks thing, Whizzle Sticks and a lot. I'm in line the other day. Somebody's asking, shit, it took her like 3 minutes to do her coffee order, like latte with skim milk with this and 2 shots of that. I'm like, I just want a container of black coffee of the day, please. I mean, give me a break with these coffee things. That's why I love Beard Vet. Go to beardvet.com, beardvet.com, promo code Godzilla. And here's the deal. Over $50, you're going to get free shipping. You're going to get 10% off. This is the People's Coffee on the People's Show. Just go to beardvet.com, promo code Godzilla. You're golden. I can't wait to get a break so I get a refill.
Oh, man, you're supposed to scream like the people's champion, like a rock. Can you smell what the coffee's brewing? Okay, sorry.
So
too easy.
Last topic for baseball. We have a potentially sort of historic looking AL MVP race in terms of there are a bunch of players that are playing well enough to win an AL MVP in most seasons, and they're all sort of doing it simultaneously. We have Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Bobby Witt Jr. all sort of having exceptional seasons. Seasons that, if you're just looking at their WAR, is pretty close to, really strong stuff that would normally win you an AL MVP. Gunnar Henderson for Baltimore and Jarren Duran are pretty close too. They're sort of within shouting distance in terms of WAR. What are our expectations for AL MVP as we close down the season? I'll lead with you, Dan, on this.
I mean, it's probably going to be Judge. I mean, he's been vital to the Yankees being in the position they're in. I mean, I'm just happy to see a situation where every player in this race is also in the playoff race. I mean, out of the 5 players that you just mentioned, the only one who currently wouldn't be in the playoffs is Duran, and Boston is still very much alive for a postseason spot. Like, it absolutely drives me nuts when, as great as Ohtani is, it would drive me nuts when he would win the MVP and the Angels would go 72-90. Like,
right.
If I ran baseball, this would be a rule. If your team cannot get to 500, you are automatically ineligible for the MVP because I'm sorry, your season just was not that valuable if your team can't win half its games. It doesn't matter. It's the most valuable player, not the most outstanding player.
Yeah,
I think that's true.
Player of the year or something. Yeah.
What's your value on like a terrible team?
Yeah, it's like was once said to, I believe, Ralph Kiner from the Mets. We finished last with you. We can finish last without you.
Great. One of the best quotes ever.
That's why I like Bobby.
Dan, that's good. That's old school stuff, Dan. I'm impressed. I think of that. I say that quote a lot. That's good, Dan. Dan's getting some of this old school. That's good.
I've always had some of this old
school. Dan is the king of the old school.
The old school. And Dan, I agree with you. If Judge's numbers, I mean, obviously, when you look at those, it's hard to be able to pass him up for MVP. And the fact that he is integral in the Yankees' success. Because Bobby Witt, if he's not on the Royals, I mean, they don't have a chance in hell. But his numbers are just dwarfed. I mean, they're amazing, and they could win it almost any other year. But right now,
but Judge also carried the Yankees for the first couple months of the season. If Judge doesn't have that strong start to the year, the Yankees are probably looking up at the Red Sox, and the Orioles have this division on lockdown.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just think it's probably just Judge and a runaway, and this is all just ESPN hype then to sort of, I mean.
Not a runaway, but a lot would have to go wrong for him to lose it.
Right. And I've seen articles where it's been sort of speculated that if you were just to flip Soto and Judge in the lineup, that maybe like Soto would have better stats and potentially a better sort of claim for the AL MVP race or a higher WAR, is that something that's like a reasonable argument, or is that just like pure, just like fantasy speculation?
It seems fantasy speculation to me.
Yeah.
They're not
John?
going to do it.
You're right. Yeah. John, what do you think about the AL MVP?
I
Judge
think with
or bust?
Bobby Witt would be, the fans' favorite because, Kansas City, he doesn't really have, the kind of hitters behind him that Judge does. But the Judge's numbers are just too imposing. I mean, and he's carried this team. So there's just not an argument against Judge if he keeps this up for another, 6 weeks of the season. I mean, he's got to be the MVP. But certainly there's sentiment there for Bobby Witt based on, the team that he plays for is not as competitive as New York is, obviously. But so you got to take that into a little bit consideration. But if Judge was not picked for MVP, if the season ended now and Judge was not picked as AL MVP, there would be outrage by Yankee fans, and I think it would be deserving. I mean, he's had just one of those seasons that you dream for as a little child, right? I mean, it was just an unbelievable season, and nobody wants to pitch to him. And so, yeah, he's going to be the AL MVP, and he should.
Yeah, I mean, Fangraphs has him on pace for 59 homers and 148 RBIs. That's pretty ludicrous. If he finishes the season with those numbers, that's pretty ludicrous that he wouldn't win the MVP, especially in New York, right? And we hate to just sort of say oh, they play for a big market, they're going to be the MVP, but it feels like that happens, sometimes too, where it's we know that a big market team, if the Yankees trot someone out there, and it's between him and Bobby Witt Jr., the Yankees probably win that AL MVP voting. That just seems pretty much like a foregone conclusion, right?
Yeah, I think the NL MVP race is similar to the AL if you really break it down. I mean, you have Ohtani, who is the clear front runner, which I think Judge is the clear front runner, and then you have 3 or 4 other guys in the race. Whether it's Harper or Marte or So I think it's almost a similar situation that you have Ohtani and Judge are just clear favorites with a bunch of other guys having great seasons, and in other years would be legit candidates for MVP.
Right. Yeah, and it's also just weird because Ohtani, is just continually just dominate. It doesn't matter if he's pitching or not. It's just he's always just going to be in the MVP candidate race now. It doesn't matter if he's in the NL, AL, pitching, not pitching. It's just the bat is enough even still, which is nuts. And pretty insane. All right, so we're kind of getting into, we're going to do a little bit of a throwback. We haven't done this in a while. We're going to do
I love throwbacks.
We're going to do our baseball best bets. We haven't just handed out just bets on baseball in a while on this show, and we are going to give out our MLB best bets here for the weekend. Spend a little time talking about it. We have tons of time for you guys to sort of run through these and sort of take your time as needed. I guess we'll just, I know that John is, probably chomping at the bit to give us all of his best bets. So we'll lead with John, and then we'll go Dan and then Mitch to kind of just go around the horn here. And what are you looking at? What are you thinking about betting on today, futures moving forward, et cetera, et cetera? John, what are you looking at?
I mean, I got to tell you, I like the Yankees today. I know they're -2 to 1, but I mean, Texas is just not winning games. I mean, this team is, used to beat them 2 out of 3. They really should have swept them. Some guy hit a 2-run homer to bottom of the 10th, walk off. Number 3 hitter, can't think of his name, Smith or something, off of Ferguson. They really should have gotten swept. They got to beat. They're just losing every day, and I watched all 3 of those games when I was in Virginia Beach at night, and this is the same team they had that won the World Series. It's basically the same team minus Jordan Montgomery, but they just don't win. Remember Leclerc came on at the end and he was their closer. They had no bullpen, and all of a sudden this guy steps up in the playoffs and he's getting guys out in the 9th inning and saving games. He's now mop up. I mean, he's pitching the 5th inning when they're down by 5. So this team has got a lot of issues. This is a doubleheader game. I don't bet doubleheaders, but I'm going to bet the Yankees here both games. I think they're going to sweep Texas. Texas is just reeling right now, so I like them. I tell you, a team you cannot figure out is the Giants. I caught them on one game last week, I think, when they beat Washington. But I just can't figure out the Giants. I bet them, they lose. I bet against them, they win. I'm going to steer clear of that. So I don't like that game. I guess the only other game I like on the card, other than the Yankees, both games, is I like the Dodgers coming back tonight over Pittsburgh. Dodgers are minus 110. Skeens, obviously, he's not going to win every day. And I just think when you lose a game, when that happens to the Dodgers, teams in baseball bounce back. They kind of get pissed. Skeens is hoping he's on the road. So I'm going to take a shot with the Dodgers. When I get the Dodgers minus 110 at home, I'm going to do that. I mean, they got the second, third best record in baseball. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers. Yankees both games, Dodgers, and then Seattle. I mean, and one thing, Logan Gilbert is getting better and better every single week. All Seattle needs to do, like they did last night, is score a couple runs. They're going to win this game. And at some point, this Mets thing is a facade, right? I mean, at some point, it's got to fold. I'm kind of waiting for the fold to happen. I'm just kind of waiting for it. I've not bet against them. I've not bet on them. I'm just kind of waiting. It's like I really don't see this team, but they keep winning. And but Logan Gilbert is very, very tough. So Yankees both games, Mariners I like, and Dodgers minus 110. Take a shot over Skeens.
Coast to coast picks from John Fredericks. Dan, what do you like today?
All right, so this is either going to work out really well or really poorly because a couple of my picks are going the complete opposite of John.
Somebody's going to win today.
Yeah. All right, so first, I'm going to take the Mets on the money line against Seattle because Sean Manaea has actually been pitching incredibly well. He's thrown 16 consecutive scoreless innings, and Seattle cannot hit. And I'm sorry, but Logan Gilbert, he has mostly pitched well, but he's not really coming off some great starts. 2 starts ago against Boston, he was gone in the third inning, gave up 7 earned runs. Start before that against the Angels, that wasn't his fault because his team let him down with 4 unearned runs, but 5 runs still scored against him, and the Angels ended up winning. Seattle's 1-5 in Gilbert's past 6 starts. So the value is on the Mets there. And then elsewhere on the West Coast, I'm not going against Paul Skeens. Crazy?
Yeah, that's one of them.
How do you go against Skeens?
I mean, I think the best play on the board there is actually to just go in another direction and say Dodgers team total first 5 innings under 1.5 at even money. Because I think Skeens has a really strong start. Maybe LA wins the game off the bullpen, but I'm taking the bullpen out of the equation here. So beyond that, I'm going to throw in Kansas City minus 135 against St. Louis. Michael Wacha is really having a underrated, strong season in Kansas City, and he's been really good at Kauffman Stadium. And this one is just going to be I don't even know if this is on the board, but if it is, play it just for the heck of it. If you can get an exact score of Cubs 7, White Sox 6, play it because that has been the exact score in all 3 games they've played this season.
7-6.
Yeah, the Cubs have won every meeting 7-6.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So if you can get that exact score at any sports book, take a shot.
There's people right now going to like bookmaker.com being like, can I get a custom bet?
Yeah.
Mitch, what do you like today?
Dan, so I did research even last night on this, and Dan took both of mine. So I'm a Michael Wacha Flocka fan as well. So I'm with Kansas City here. And it's Paul Skeens Day. I'm definitely taking Skeens against the second starting pitcher. It's only a second start Rice for the Dodgers. But and I think we'll make some bullpen changes now with Bednar not being the relief, the closer now. So I had to scramble a little bit. I found there was another one that I was leaning on. I like the Brewers over the Reds. Yeah. I'm Tobias Myers pitching. He's been hot. Good ERA. Yes, I'm going to take the Brewers over the Reds, but I had to scramble and do that in the last 15 seconds.
All right.
I don't know. Don't lean on it too much, listeners.
What we've not talked about is Cleveland's collapse here. They've lost 7 in a row, couple of like 10 days ago. They had a 8-game lead over 7-game lead over Minnesota, and that was a game and a half. Twins are surging. They've lost 7 in a row. Kind of like the Mets. I mean, you were looking at Cleveland. You just couldn't bet against them. They kept winning, but they're not really that good of a team. And you say, okay, at some point, the bottom falls out here. I mean, are they in the middle of a collapse? That's the question. Maybe we can get to that after we get Nate's picks here.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's get to it. Let's get to it right now. I was gonna lead with, I was gonna say we should talk. We can talk Cleveland, and we should also talk Mets. We seemed to get some response when you were talking about the Mets being for real. So let's lead with Cleveland, and then we'll get to the Mets to kind of close out this hour. Is Cleveland? Should they be worried?
Yes. You lose 7 in a row when you got a 7-game lead, and now you're a game and a half up, and you're on the road. And we could get out of this weekend, and Minnesota's in first place, and they've lost 9 straight. Damn right, they should be worried. I mean, this is a big game for them to win today. And Gavin Williams he started off the season great. He's not pitching that well right now, or he started off as a starter well. He's not pitched that well as ERA is hovering about 5. But all of a sudden they're losing games. And so and when you watch the Indians, Guardians, whatever they're called, Cleveland. When you watch Cleveland, it's like, how's this team have the best record in baseball? They just keep winning, but you can't really figure it out. We understand they have a lights-out closer. We get that. So all those games they seem to win. But I think if you're a Cleveland fan right now, if you lose today, you're going to hit the panic button.
Dan, do you agree?
Not quite to that extent, but yeah, Cleveland should be worried, not panicked. I mean, the schedule is tough the rest of the way. I mean, the Guardians still have to go to New York. They still haven't seen the Dodgers or the Brewers. So there's a lot of losable games on the schedule. I do think Cleveland's ace bullpen is going to pull out of this funk eventually, but it's certainly nowhere near as solid as it looked a week ago.
And for the Mets, so John is has almost made a career from hating the owner of the Mets.
City of New York.
The entire city of New York. Big bankster owners of sports teams. Are the Mets?
Unless there's a draft pick involved.
So are the Mets? So John always thinks the Mets are on the brink of collapse.
A hedge fund gangster bankster that made all this money by shipping jobs to China, didn't create a single job, didn't produce anything, didn't make anything, right? And it's a zero-sum game. You lose money, they make money, your jobs go away. That's all these guys have done. The guys one step from criminality. All these guys in Wall Street, they're all stealing your money, all of them. These are hedge fund managers. They all got algorithms. They all screw everybody. And so the guys, now he buys the Mets.
Importantly, he owns the Mets now. So are the Mets on the brink of collapse, like John says, or do they actually kind of have something going here? Mitch?
I think they have something going. I mean, when Pete Alonso all of a sudden just turns it on and has been the best player since in August, and I mean, Francisco Lindor is an MVP candidate, and I don't know, they just seem to have some sort of swagger, and I hate the Phillies as much as I hate the Mets, any of those cities. So, it'll be fun and interesting to watch. But no, I think they're for real, especially when you have that kind of star power, and they're playing well currently. And if they keep that up, there's no reason why they can't, sneak in wild card. I don't think they're going to catch. I don't think they're catching the Phillies, but they're in that wild card race for sure.
Dan, final word on the Mets. What do you think for them? I mean, are you surprised?
I've been impressed by the Mets lately. I think that excuse me, their surge is for real, and they could scare somebody in the playoffs. I mean, I think Atlanta is more the team in the NL East that has been smoke and mirrors, and I think the Mets caught them, and I don't think they're going to give that lead back. I think that they're likely to get that top wild card spot.
Wow. Okay. So, John, you got some resistance here. All right. So, just to kind of tease it, we are about to take a quick reset here at the top of the hour. We are going to be talking when we come back a little bit about all the NFL rumors. We're talking Brendan Ayuk getting traded and saying, no, I don't want to get traded, and saying, yes, please trade me over and over again. We have, conversation about Nick Sirianni being on the hot seat. We have Mike McDonald having trouble in training camp with the Seahawks. We got golf picks coming up. We have Jay Delsing going to be here. We are going big in the second hour, so stick around with us, and we will see you in about 40 seconds.
You're listening to Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network. For a deeper dive without the jive, visit the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Let's get back to the show with the guys in the know, John, Jack, and Nate. It's Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
All right, welcome to hour 2 of the Godzilla Wins Saturday Picks Show. I am joined still by Mitch Rogers, Dan Angel, and the Godzilla of Truth, John Fredericks. Jay Delsing should be joining us soon to get sort of warmed up for his show that follows ours. So we'll be waiting for Jay to show. Oh, there's Jay. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, good morning.
Good morning. So we're talking NFL rumors. That's what we got going on right now. We got,
I cannot wait for the NFL, man. I cannot wait.
We are all ready for the NFL. It's been a long off season. And I guess we'll just start with sort of the trade rumors that's going on with Brandon Ayuk. He's been asking for a trade since it seems like last year. He's not really satisfied with where he's at. He doesn't seem to be terribly happy with his role in sort of San Francisco. And San Francisco has had an unusually hard time trading him to someone. And some of that has to do with Ayuk just saying like he doesn't want to be traded to those teams, and others seem to be that they want a wide receiver in return for Ayuk, and teams aren't really willing to part with a wide receiver that they think is good enough to justify a trade. So we have all of that going on. And I guess the question is like, if you're Brandon Ayuk, do you want to be traded that badly? Like why? Like, I guess like I'll just start with Mitch here. Like, why does Brandon Ayuk want to be traded so badly from a team that has like real Super Bowl aspirations? And he's getting paid $14.1 million this season.
Yeah, and
last year of his rookie contract.
If you're a Steelers fan or on any Steelers Twitter or anything this week, these last 2 weeks with Brandon Ayuk has just been obnoxious. I know for one that I can be an NFL insider if I feel like it, or you can just spew out any trade rumors because Ayuk was traded to the Steelers and wasn't. No, I think Ayuk is trying to get his money, trying to get the bag. You know, he's the number one receiver on the number one NFC team, and he wants to get paid accordingly. San Francisco also knows that you can have the quarterback that was picked with the last pick for a little while, get that contract for a little while, but eventually you're going to have to pay these players to stay as a top competitive team. And they're probably saying, hey, we can find another Ayuk from that standpoint. And Ayuk, but he wants to win. And I guess, so he doesn't want to, he's picking his team. So for everyone that doesn't know, New England offered him apparently $32 to $37 million. He doesn't want to go to New England. Cleveland was in the mix. He doesn't want to go to Cleveland either. He wants to go to Pittsburgh. Now, San Francisco, and they're being stubborn. They want a wide receiver. Well, the Steelers don't have a wide receiver to give. So they're trying to get another team into the mix to make this happen, because apparently it's either the Steelers or now on the table is the 49ers re-signing him, which, they've been playing hardball and haven't really had that as an option. I don't think the Steelers need to leverage or mortgage their entire team in draft picks for a really good wide receiver. I don't know if they're in that position where that takes them over the top. But that's up to them. That's not my money. Our team would be better if they did it, and I'd be for it. But it's getting annoying. But it seems to be coming to a head, and it has to by this weekend or by Monday or Tuesday. He's either going to be a 49er or a Steeler, in my opinion, unless another team pops up that he's willing to go to because he has the last say.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, so he says, I want to get traded. I want to sign a new deal. And the 49ers and the Browns had a trade. They said, we'll give you Amari Cooper and like a second-round pick for Ayuk. Like, we'll take it. We'll sign him, blah, blah. And he said, I don't want to play for Cleveland, losers. So it's like, so who do you want to get traded to then? Because nobody just has like wide receiver one money just sitting available. Like, if they're good. Like, they already have their wide receiver one money being paid to, their wide receiver number one. Like, there's no good teams that don't have a wide receiver they're paying a bunch of money to.
Guys, how do you give a
Steelers?
What is he, a third or fourth year? How does he have that much say? I mean, if you're going to come in and tear my locker room up and you're not going to be part of my team, I'm going to trade you to wherever the hell I want, wherever I get the best deal.
I'm with Jay.
You're not bigger than the team. I don't get any of this stuff.
I'm with Jay.
Guys have that much control. It's baloney.
So that's the interesting thing about this is that Ayuk, because he's on a rookie contract, doesn't have a no trade clause. But what he does have is the power to not sign an extension or a contract with the team that he gets traded to, which is essentially what he's saying, that he just won't sign the contract and he'll just sit out, and then the trade, they will have traded him for nothing. Is essentially what he's sort of using as leverage here. Which is sort of an interesting place to be at, but that happens in the NFL. Like, a lot of guys they get to the last year of their contract and they're not getting an extension done, and they think like, I don't want to get hurt and ruin my chances. Like, I'd rather just, all things being equal, I'd rather just not play or just, go through the motions for a season.
How often does that actually happen in the NFL, guys? How often does a guy playing out his rookie deal go to free agency? I can't remember it in a long, long time.
It doesn't happen with big stars. It'll happen with depth guys.
Yeah.
Well, it gives me cause for concern a little bit as well. I mean, when you have a team that's this loaded, is Ayuk worth that? Is he worth giving up first-round draft picks and a $30 million contract? When, his numbers have been good, but you have single coverage everywhere. When you have Christian McCaffrey out there and you have the most elite, motion offense in the NFL, you're just open all the time. I know he's good. Yeah. And he's number one receiver good. But I wanted more
alongside Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, and he's got Brock Purdy throwing the ball. There's so much that goes into this team, and I think that's why San Francisco's not really in a huge hurry to spend money on him, because I'm not really sure that they're totally bought in either. They're looking at all these weapons being like, well, I mean, he had 1,300 yards receiving last season, a bunch of touchdowns, but it's like, yeah, but I think is sort of where the Niners are with this is that, they're willing to take another wide receiver in a trade. Obviously Pittsburgh doesn't want to give up George Pickens, which is basically the only receiver that they'd want, because the rest of the wide receiver room is pretty much garbage in Pittsburgh, which is hampering this trade. But I think that's why the 49ers they're like, any competent wide receiver would be fine in a trade, because they kind of know that a competent wide receiver is enough in their offense. Like, they don't need a stud like Ayuk.
I mean, I get them wanting another receiver back. I mean, absolutely, because if you traded him away, you'd be signing Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, so that's a big drop off, right? So I get why they would want someone back, but the fact that he wants the one team that's the collateral cachet that they just don't have. I mean, they're not giving up Freiermuth. You're not giving up, and that's who they've asked for is Pickens or Freiermuth, and it's like, you can't give it. It's the only other weapons they have.
It just doesn't work.
Why would a team want a guy like that? That's obviously a cancer in the locker room. Doesn't want to play for the team he's on.
He's well liked in the locker room, and in this day and age, people
respect people trying to get paid.
Yeah, when they go to get that bag, there's a respect, and people don't think that that's tearing up a locker room like us old schoolers. And so I don't know if he would tear your locker room up. And Tomlin has majored in diva wide receivers, so I think he's not worried about that.
Guys, what do you think about San Francisco? Think about how lucky they got. They put all their eggs in the Trey Lance basket. This guy's not even playing he's not even a number one quarterback anywhere. And they get Mr. Irrelevant, and this guy turns out to be a stud. So it makes you kind of wonder about their evaluation over there. With Lynch got really, really lucky on this deal.
Yeah, I mean, lucky, and they put together a lot of good pieces around Brock Purdy. I mean, I think there's probably 30 teams in the NFL where Brock Purdy fails. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that or 25 teams where Brock Purdy doesn't even see the field yet, and for whatever reason, San Francisco sort of backed into him. But it feels lucky, but they were fortunate in that like all the pieces were there. Like he had a pretty good offensive line, and he had so many people that he could throw it to, and he has the best play caller in football, calling the offense, which helps.
And you might find out that's their hubris and that about their team is so good and they can just kind of plug and play any quarterback into there. That might be what is their ultimate downfall, because if Purdy doesn't. I know he's good. I believe he's legit. I don't care where he was picked. But if Purdy doesn't excel to be a top 10 quarterback, and he's the reason why they don't win a Super Bowl, then that's them again failing, or judging wrong, because their last missing piece to winning that championship would be having a quarterback and a top 5 quarterback, which they would be going after heavily if Purdy wasn't around. And the fact that Purdy's there, they don't have to do that. But if they don't win,
they can't really
afford
it.
They don't have a great quarterback.
They can't really afford it. Their window is small with the cap, man. Their window is small. They can't pay everybody.
That's the thing, right? You can't pay everyone. And I think that Brandon Ayuk is looking around. I think he's just being realistic, and he's like, of the people they need to re-sign in the near future, guys that are going to get a contract. Brock Purdy being one of them, who's making $770,000 right now. That's not quarterback money in the NFL. That's not starting quarterback money. That's like a very small fraction of quarterback.
How long is that? How long is that window? When you sign a young quarterback like that, a rookie quarterback, like I know Tennessee's got the same thing going on with a second round pick with Will Levis. How long is that window before the big money comes? Was it
4 years,
3
right?
seasons? What? How
He's
many?
under 4. He's 4 years. He's 4 years, under $4 million.
He's eligible for a new deal after next year.
Yeah,
next year they'll look for a new deal, but it's not going to affect them for 2 years out, right? Because they're still under the Did they start getting paid that immediately, or how's that work?
So he was drafted in 2022, and he's got a 4-year contract for $3.7 million.
Right. So you're good with the cap till 2026.
Yeah.
You're good with the cap until 2027, when then you got to pay him X dollars. See, this is a real
probably
advantage.
sign an extension before
This is a real advantage a team has. If you can get a really good quarterback in the second or the third round, I mean, you're saving all that money for a 4-year period. Then you can build a team around him, and then obviously you got to spend if the guy works out. But that's an advantage San Francisco has. That's a huge advantage. That's a huge advantage that the Titans have. I mean, the difference in money first and second round with them, our Kentucky quarterback, was big dollars, and they got now they got money to play with and sign veterans and things of that nature. So we'll see what happens.
Well, because Brock Purdy will be worth it'll be like a $60 million a year contract if he's deemed top 10 quarterback or franchise quarterback money, and then all of a sudden that window's over. You're the Seattle Seahawks that didn't even win a Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden it shifts and you got to rely on that quarterback. And I don't know if Purdy's that guy. That's going to be a tough decision when that comes around next year.
I mean, because that's the state of the NFL, right? If you have a guy on a rookie deal and he's good, you're in good shape. That's why the Texans are in really good shape because they have CJ Stroud for a few more years and they don't have to worry about it, and they can just fill up the roster with sort of high dollar players, knowing that they're not paying their quarterback a ton.
And the Colts, same thing with the Colts.
Colts, same thing. There's a lot and the 49ers. But if you're going to spend quarterback money, you look at Dallas with Dak. They spent quarterback money on Dak, and it hasn't worked out very well, and it sort of hampered their ability to put a lot of depth on the field in positions. And unless you're paying quarterback money to someone like Mahomes, who can play on a team with 10 players practically and still win a Super Bowl, that's sort of where you're at. I mean, you have to do it in your rookie contract window, or just pray that they're going to be, a generational type talent like Mahomes or Brady or something like that.
Are you just signed first round busts or players that have already got their money and then fail? And then the Steelers have $1.7 million for Russ and $3 million for Fields. You know,
and they still haven't managed to put much of a team around him.
Yeah, and meanwhile in New York, the Giants are paying Daniel Jones $40 million a year.
Exactly, that's the downside, right?
That's
the
Mitch,
downside.
Well worth it.
Mitch, how many games before Justin Fields is your quarterback? 5, 6, 3?
You know what? So he's had a tremendous camp from what I'm reading, but his major problems are what happened last night. He had two bad snaps that ended drives, and his turnovers, these just little tiny turnovers that he gets, just masked his talent. And so I don't know. I mean, I think you have to. It just depends. Russell Wilson comes in and doesn't turn the ball over and is efficient. You know, I think he keeps it until he gets hurt. But Justin Fields, kind of screwed up last night by showing that's what you're worried about with him. You know, turning the ball over, and he did it.
Guys, what'd you think of the Jordan Love deal? I mean, he wasn't a holdout; he was a hold in.
Yeah. Yeah, he did it the right way. You respect the Jordan Love thing. You had to sit behind Rodgers and wait for it, and then when you got your shot, you get one shot, and he showed that he can play.
Yeah,
1 year just got him $220 million. I didn't see how much of that's guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I love the NFL though, the way they do their numbers. It's like, here's a big contract, but you're never going to get all that. Because we're going to cut you loose in like year 3, but. Boy, year 5 and year 6, you're going to make $50 million a year. The guy's like, oh yeah.
And I think that brings it back to your original point, where with Ayuk and being a problem. I think the way that the contracts are structured in the NFL, that's why other NFL players don't consider it a problem. Because they know they get screwed over so much, so they're going to hold your feet to the fire. Give me my money up front, guaranteed, and they fight for it tooth and nail, and because of the way it's structured.
Yeah. So, John, why don't you give us a Rosie's? Tell us a little bit about Rosie's while we're transitioning to another segment here.
Well, I tell you what, it's the best casino in America. If you want to get the best jackpots and get the biggest payouts, it's absolutely the best, and it's also the most fun. I have so much fun there. Anna has so much fun now. We got to get there this year. I haven't been there in the racing to the extent that I like because of conventions. I got another one coming up in Chicago, so I got to go to the bar scene of Star Wars there. But it is the most fun. I was there this week. Obviously, we were in Virginia. I stole a day, went there, had a good day at the track, had a good day at Rosie's. So I came home with a little green for the scene, as they say. More money to bet on Nate's golf picks. So it's always good to go to a casino and get out with more money than you came in with. Plus, I had dinner, paid for that too. All good. So all you got to do is go to rosiesgaming.com, rosiesgaming.com. Biggest jackpots, highest payouts, the most fun. No smoke. This is the beauty of this thing. You go to these casinos where they pump the oxygen in. We've all been there, right? Reno, whatever. You know how it is. It's just like, you go here, the windows are open. There's no, you can see outside. You can see the sun. You can see when the sun goes down. You can see the darkness. They're air conditioned, but they're not pumping in the oxygen. It's just fun. It's the visionary new casino type, and they've been very successful with it. And you're really, really going to enjoy it. They're all over Virginia. You got Dumfries in Northern Virginia. You got a brand new hotel going up there. Can't wait. Going to do my show there for a couple of days live. You've got obviously New Kent where the track is. Post time today. Don't want to miss that. 1:35. Today's a big day. They got big races on the card. Bunch of stakes races. You want to check them out. They got Richmond. They got Collinwood right by Danville. They got Hampton. It's all over the place. Emporia. You name it. They got it. Just go to rosiesgaming.com. Big stake races today. I wish I was there. I'd have a lot of fun. Go to rosiegaming.com, rosiesgaming.com. Have fun, win money.
All right, John, it looks like we have a caller, which seldom happens on this show. I'm going to let you take the lead on this when we get Joe from Virginia Beach on here to complain about the Steelers.
So we got Joe from Virginia Beach, and I asked Mitch to call in today because Joe and his wife, Kimbo, longtime listeners of our show, took me to dinner Thursday night in Virginia Beach. And he's a lifelong Steelers fan. He went to West Virginia, Mitch, like you also did. Lifelong diehard Steelers fan, watches every game. goes to their games, dies with the Steelers, lives in Virginia Beach. And he shocked me at dinner by giving he just hates Mike Tomlin. In fact, he said that last season at the end, they were rooting for the Steelers to lose so that they'd fire Tomlin. And I'm like, okay, whoa, wait a minute. That was pretty deep stuff he was talking about.
And he's from Virginia
He was
Beach.
getting all like steam was coming out of his ears and stuff. So I'm like, dude, you got to call him because I got this guy, Mitch Rogers, on. He loves Tomlin and the Steelers. So I'm going to give you the floor, Joe. You went crazy on Tomlin. You think he's got to go. You got the floor. What's up with Tomlin?
Hi, John. Hi, everybody. I heard him say that I'm from Virginia Beach, but I did grow up in Pennsylvania, and that's how I ended up going to West Virginia. It was just a few miles from Pittsburgh, and so I've been watching the Steelers for a long time, and I've come to the conclusion, and it wasn't recent. It's been a while that Tomlin is a problem. And, so, everybody knows about the chance of fire Matt Canada last year, but it was real close. And it even started at a few home games to fire Tomlin, but it just didn't get the legs that the Canada thing did, because that's going one step farther. But, did any of you guys watch the game last night? Let me give you one. So he's terrible with clock management. He's terrible. He for a stretch he was 0 for 12 in challenges in a row, and then the Rooneys finally hired somebody to recommend should he challenge or should he not challenge. And Tomlin is so stubborn that he refused to use the guy. So there's a guy on staff that for that purpose that was not even used. But so last night the Steelers were getting blown out. They started off sloppy. They're always sloppy. I know it's the first preseason game, but they did make it close. So they scored a touchdown to make it 20-12. And instead of doing the regular thing and kicking the extra point, so that then if you get the ball back, you could try to score a tying touchdown. Tomlin goes for 2. And I know you could argue I didn't catch all the names because I'm out in Gloucester, but I know you have a guy there that loves Tomlin. And maybe he wants to see the whole offense work and try to go for 2 at the end. But it just doesn't. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. Why are not all the other coaches doing this? I don't want to rant. I will answer questions. But yeah, we were. So the quarterback situation. It looks like we're doing the same thing. When Tomlin had a good life, when we had Ben for all those years, Ben retired, and since then it's been botched. They go out immediately because their complaint was Ben's last year, he was immobile. So we need a mobile quarterback. So immediately in free agent, they go and sign Mitch Trubisky. All through training camp that year. Well, let me take one step back. And then they drafted Kenny Pickett, who was a Pitt Panther. Pitt works out at the same facilities as a Steeler. So that they love Pickett, they love his winning attitude. He just wins, baby, just wins. They drafted him 20th. Nobody else had any interest in him in the first round at all. So Trubisky did not know there was going to be a quarterback there. So all through camp, Trubisky takes all of the first team reps. Kenny Pickett never saw the field with the first teamers. Obviously the preseason games, he did not play. We go 0-2 and we get into week 3 and there's some kind of mysterious fight in the locker room between Deontay Johnson and Mitch Trubisky. And all of a sudden, Kenny Pickett is now starting the second half of the game. And we're like, what the heck? Because he had no reps. He had no week to practice with the first teamer. So then Kenny was your quarterback the whole year. And, he was. And
what happened after that? They went above 500. Okay, hold on.
All right.
Yeah. I am a Mike Tomlin. I'm a Mike Tomlin fan, apologist, whatever you want to call it. Now I'm with you. He's earned his right to still be the Steelers head coach. He hits all the buttons for the Steelers organization and franchise. They like longevity at the head coach position. They in Ben Roethlisberger, they had a franchise quarterback for a long time, win with defense, all that stuff. So he's earned that right. But yeah, he was in a little bit of a hot seat because the Steelers haven't won a playoff game in 6 seasons. So I get the frustration, but also, whatever you have to say, Ben Roethlisberger was there. they were successful with him. The time where Tomlin really failed was when Ben Roethlisberger was at the end of his prime with the killer bees there, and whatever happens, the catch that didn't happen against them, whatever. But right now, Tomlin is leading the rebuild for this team, and they're in quarterback purgatory, quarterback hell, which 20 of the NFL teams are in. The Steelers haven't seen that in 20 years. So, yeah, they're trying to do whatever they can. So they signed a former first-round pick in Trubisky. He flat out sucks. So they started their first-round quarterback. That makes complete sense. It was also the right move. They went above 500. It's also the right move to try to do it's also the right move to evaluate Pickett and say he's not the man and move on. And they're trying to do that. But, yeah, they're in quarterback hell right now. And I don't really care about it's the challenges. Yeah, that's frustrating. But the guy is a leader of men, a motivator. People want to play for him. You have Ayuk doing everything in his power to come here because he wants to be here. Tomlin is a great coach. Now, he wears thin. And just like when Cowher retired, there was no reason. He was just off a Super Bowl a season later. But, sometimes your message gets flat. But what he did now is he listened. They have a new general manager. They have a new offensive coordinator. And they have new personnel, new line. They're drafting well. So let's see what they do in this rebuild. The bottom line is it doesn't matter what we think about him. He's going to be here. He just signed another extension. They love him. So he's the man. And if you had to hire somebody to lead your rebuild right now, he'd be hired by every single team in the NFL. Yeah, and I know, but so I love him, and I couldn't find anybody. I couldn't think of anyone better to lead this rebuild, but. The quarterback position is hard to hit on, and they're just trying to hit on it somehow because unless you can have that first pick or hit the last pick in the draft, like Brock Purdy, you're gonna need some luck in there. And I'm proud that they could quickly evaluate that Kenny Pickett wasn't the man for them, and obviously he moaned when he got benched. And all those moves that the Steelers made last year was everybody that talked crap in that locker room either got cut, Deontay, or got their captaincy ripped off, Najee. So he's the sheriff in town again, and he's going to make sure that he has them right this year, in my opinion.
Okay, so I agree with a lot of what you said there, and obviously we're both Steeler fans. But the playoff drought is not just when quarterback hell started. I mean, there was a lot of years with Ben that we did not win. I think it was 2016 we won a playoff game, and it was against Kansas City. And that was the pre-Mahomes Kansas City when they had Alex Smith, I think, coming off an injury. And we scored 6 field goals. 6 field goals. We beat them 18-16. And I think before that or after that, they beat Miami in a playoff game. And that was might have been their third string quarterback. So, yeah, right now we are struggling. But we lost a lot of years with Ben. And so I know the 9-8 thing, that really doesn't work for me. I mean, there used to be a Steeler way where you could expect not one playoff win, which the fans are begging for right now. You could expect to go deep in the playoffs, and their motto was, we're going to win a championship this year. Well, that is so different. And you look at the odds. Look at Vegas odds of the Steelers win it all. They're like 24. So, I mean, you could love Tomlin. You could love 9-8. You could love picking in the middle of the draft. In my opinion, people love to play for Tomlin because okay. So I give you, those were great examples. They stripped Najee of his captainship. Deontay, you want volunteers. You don't want hostages. So they started doing that. I mean, you had LeGarrette Blount quit.
You don't want
you had a few people quit. But
I think Joe, we got to move. Joe, we got to move.
No accountability, Don.
I think your point is taken.
Can I make one last point? My last point is I think good players love to play for Tomlin because there's no accountability in the locker room. I mean, you remember the AB videos? I mean,
except that Pickett's with the Eagles. Except Deontay's not on the team. What do you mean no accountability? They're not even on the team anymore. He got rid of them.
Well, they gave Pickett a chance to compete for a job, and he said he didn't want to.
Right.
That's why they shipped him out. If you remember, I mean, I'm not trying to argue with you, but they told Kenny Pickett that they're bringing in Russell Wilson, and Kenny Pickett was like, "F this," so they let him go and went and got Justin Fields for nothing. I mean, that is true though. So I understand you guys got to move on. I just wanted to call in and
no, thank you. No, I love
you guys are great.
I could do it all day. That's just fun.
Yeah, it's a great show. I mean, you guys really have a lot of talent over there, and I really don't want to argue. I'm just a frustrated fan, like you said, and like you said, Tom is not going anywhere, so we just got to deal with it. We were really, a lot of us were really upset when he signed that extension. I'll tell you that.
All right, thanks for calling in, Joe. All right, so we got a little talk about My Pillow, John. We were supposed to do that at the top of the hour, but you were off getting coffee. So tell us a little bit about My Pillow.
Well, I think my wife Ann just basically bought out their entire inventory in a week. Joe's moving into a new apartment. I guess 3 of the baseball players, that's how they work in West Virginia. You get to be a sophomore, you get your own apartment. So they set it up, but it's all empty. It's been refurbished or something. And so I get home, there's like 19 boxes of My Pillow lying around: pillows, blankets, comforters, towels, sheets, dish towels. So I guess she's good to go there. And I said, hey, did you put in the promo code? She said, yeah, I put in Godzilla. I saved a bunch of money. So I got Joe ready to go. He's all set up. He ships out Sunday. And look, I mean, the My Pillow products are the best. They're the best prices, but they're the best products. And the sheets are phenomenal. And, we got the sheets, we got the comforter, we got the towels, we got the dish towels. I mean, you can't go in this house without getting a bunch of My Pillow stuff. And it's just fantastic. So go to mypillow.com, mypillow.com /Godzilla, promo code Godzilla. Right now, they got mattress toppers. We got Joe one for his bed, king size bed, $119. He doesn't have that. He has got a queen, $99. I mean, you're not going to get a mattress topper My Pillow for $99 for a queen size bed. If you get one of your family members going to a dorm and they got a twin bed, $69. Have you ever seen one of those dorm beds? Like when we moved Joe into his dorm, have you ever seen one of those? Right?
The mattress is like this.
You guys stayed in dorms. I mean, those dorm mattresses on the twin beds, right? You know how long they've been there? 1957. Okay, those things are disgusting. I mean, they're just gross. I would never sleep on it, but that's what they got. So you put the mattress topper on it, put the sheets on, got the My Comforter pillow, and look, especially got an athlete, right? Got to get a good night's sleep. Got to make them comfortable, right? They got a lot of pressure on them. Got to get a good night's sleep. So she did that for Joe. So we shipped Joe in tomorrow, and then the next time we see him is Thanksgiving. But it's been a good summer. But look, go to mypillow.com /Godzilla. By the way, I'll be with Mike Lindell in Chicago, the Democratic National Committee. For whatever reason, I have no idea, rejected my media credentials. Like, go figure that one. But then I figured out they also rejected Lindell. So he got rejected too. So the two rejects decide, okay, let's go to Chicago, get together, sell some pillows. Let's crash their party. Let's have some fun. So Mike Lindell's setting up outside the perimeter. And
you guys can go schlep your products next to the American flag vendors.
Schlepping our products.
That's what Sturgill Simpson did.
Simpson did
like the White Sox game while you're there.
It's gonna be like the bar scene at Star Wars, right? We're gonna be fighting the crazies, and I'm sure the Palestinian protesters will be there. Maybe I could sell some pillows to them. They need pillows. They need some pillows.
Okay.
Go to mypillow.com, promo code Godzilla. Save all that money. Best thing ever. You'll feel better.
Okay. So we sort of had an unscheduled break to talk Mike Tomlin hot seat, but we also have a scheduled break to talk potential Nick Sirianni hot seat in Philly.
Woo!
And this feels a lot like Philly fan nonsense to me. I just don't understand how he's on the hot seat after he's made the playoffs all 3 seasons. He's made, he lost in the wild card for 2 of them, and then they go to the Super Bowl in 2022. So he's done nothing but win in Philly with a team that's sort of been growing along with him, even though they had some stumbles sort of late last season. Why is Nick Sirianni on the hot seat? Like, I just don't understand. Where are you going to find someone better than this? Is Belichick really the answer here? I mean, whoever wants to lead with this. I don't know.
Sometimes I feel like, guys, the fans just forget. It's like, don't you remember we were bad? Now you're pissed because we're winning, but we're not winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, Jay, come on, man. They tanked down the stretch. They had the best team in the NFL, and they tanked down the stretch. I mean, you can't lose that many games down the stretch and then get beaten your first playoff game and think things are going to be fine in Philadelphia with all that talent. So, yeah, I think he's on the hot seat, and he should be. I mean, what did they lose at the end of the season, guys? 7 in a row or something? I mean,
out
they had
of
the
6.
best record, and then they snuck in the playoffs and got blown out. So yeah, he should be on the hot seat. And look, they made some very questionable moves here, but I just don't think they're that good. That's the problem. I mean, you can change Sirianni, you can hire Belichick or Joe Blow. I don't think they're that good of a football team, and you saw it at the end of the season. So I think if they start 1-4, 2-5, he's gone.
It's going to be. What are we going to do without Kelsey in the middle there, boys?
They did the tush push yesterday with Kenny Pickett. They did it last night in the game. So I disagree that roster is loaded. I mean, you got Georgia's defensive line, there. But so what was curious? Well, first of all, the reporting about the rift by ESPN was 2 really good reporters, and they was pretty detailed. And what I went back to when I was reading it was Dan Orlovsky for ESPN, when he was breaking them down, he noticed all of a sudden that the shifts and their offense just became just so predictable and it's just a complete change from the year before. So then when you fast forward to that article where it's saying that they were Jalen Hurts was calling changing his play calls and just saying there wasn't enough offense. He's questioning Nick Sirianni's offensive ability. And you go in, and then there's a lot of people that are claiming that, when he was the Colts, it wasn't all him. It was he had a good staff around him. But I just don't understand how you can go from having an offense that was intriguing and dynamic to what happened last year. And I think it must have been their rift. And Sirianni talked about the rift in training camp. I mean, he said, "Hey, everybody goes through these things, and we're working it out." So there was a lot to it.
No, they don't go through these things. What do you mean everybody goes through these things?
Well, he's
you're
saying
the head coach. You're calling the plays. You're calling the plays, right? Now I get an audible, right? You see a different thing. You're trained to call an audible. You're calling the plays, and then your quarterback's in the huddle changing the play before he gets to the line to call an audible, and you're going to tell me this goes on? Like, who the hell's in charge of this team?
Absolutely.
I would have benched this guy the second play he did that. I'd have benched him.
And
if
then
he didn't have a reason, I'd have benched him the second time.
In the locker room,
he lost control. He lost control of the team because he let a quarterback run the offense and change his plays. Now, if your quarterback is calling the plays, fine. But the quarterback was not calling the plays. Sirianni was calling the plays. So, who's in charge here, right? If you want to let Joe Namath call the plays the way he did, fine. That's all good. I'm good. Or you want to do an audible, but you can't run a team and have 2 leaders. And the guy should have got benched. And who the hell does he think he is when you're changing the offensive coordinator's plays? The guy is, to me, the whole team is in disarray. The guy's going to get fired.
Dan?
I mean, I think who Jalen Hurts thinks he is the guy that the Eagles are paying $255 million to.
Well, that's the problem.
I mean,
that's a bigger contract than Sirianni's got.
I mean, it's like that.
Now
It's
he becomes the
like
LeBron James of the NFL, where he's basically running the franchise, just like LeBron does with the Lakers.
That's what Aaron Rodgers is doing in New York. That's what
Mitch is right. That is what happens. It's like that line in The Replacements where near the end of the movie, McGinty has the conflict with the normal starting quarterback, and Martell tells him, "I call the plays on the field, not you." That's not how I coach. I don't care because that's the way I play. And that's the way it is in the NFL these days. I mean,
great reference.
If you cannot get along with your quarterback, you're not going to have a job for very long as the head coach. And I'm starting to wonder if this is a problem with the Eagles culture, because Doug Peterson was the coach before Nick Sirianni. The Eagles fired him after 1 poor season. What does he do? He goes down to Jacksonville and cleans up Urban Meyer's mess and wins an AFC South title.
It's a culture issue.
I think the problem isn't Sirianni. I think the problem might very well be the Eagles front office. And Howie Roseman has seemingly done a good job for the most part, but cracks are starting to show. I mean, a great example would be the Pickett deal. I mean, you had the opportunity to bring in Justin Fields for a much lower price, and Justin Fields is, by all accounts, a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett, and you pay a 3rd rounder to Pittsburgh while the Steelers send Chicago a 6th rounder, which could become a 4th rounder, I think, if Fields sees the field enough. But even still, that move made no sense. So I'm thinking that Sirianni is not the problem, just as Peterson was not the problem, and there are some serious issues in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, and Philly's like always had that, you know. I mean, even if we look back, a few more years to like before Peterson, there was Andy Reid, and Andy Reid probably wasn't out of the office after he got fired before his phone rang and he took the Kansas City job, and we saw how that went. You know what I mean? So it's like they're always doing this, and these are good coaches.
Yeah,
but there's something that happens in Philly that's toxic.
It seems like the problem might be Jeff Lurie.
Yeah, it's a real issue that they can't. I mean, because Nick Sirianni's phone is not going to stay quiet for long if he gets fired.
Yeah.
I mean,
there is a possibility. Like, I don't necessarily believe in this. There is a possibility that a lot of the Eagles' success could be because of the coordinators, because when Steichen and Gannon left, it wasn't the same team. But on the other side of that coin, the Eagles did start 10-1 last year before falling apart. So it's really tough to know exactly what the problem is. But based on recent past, Lurie seems to be the one constant issue.
And it's weird, and you can tell that theory about the assistants or the assistant coaches being, the better offensive coordinators is lurking in that locker room. You can just tell. And then, I mean, and you can't squander this year. You got to figure it out. You got Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown. I mean, they have a loaded team.
Oh yeah,
and a wide open NFC East. So they just need to figure this out and just run an offense that.
Yeah, I mean,
they ought to hire.
That division is not frightening at all.
They ought to hire Mike Vrabel, and then they can lose another 8 in a row. That fits.
Or go to the AFC Championship game.
And speaking of teams where there's a problem.
All right, we got some more. We got another Native Path advertisement to do. John, you wanna lead the way?
Well, it's not really an advertisement. It's feeling better and quality of life. That's what this whole thing is about. There's no product that we don't ask you to take a look at that our family does not use with success. If we don't sign them on. So go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla. There's no promo code. Collagen is one of the most important vitamins that your body needs, and as you get older, it starts to drain out. It deplenishes. You got to get it replenished. And it's kind of like guys when their testosterone level goes down. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter if you lift weights or run. Doesn't matter what. As you get older, it goes down. Then you got to get it checked out. Be sure that it's not in the danger zone. Collagen's the same thing. We used to get collagen from meat. We used to get it from bone broth and things like that as you get older. But now with the Frankenstein meat they've got, and these cows are corporatized. They're not out grazing, but that's why collagen becomes such an important ingredient to your health, to your life. And you can get collagen right now. GetNativePath.com/Godzilla, $21. You can't go to Starbucks for $21. You get it for a month. Try it. If you don't feel better, don't order it again. Guess what? You will feel better. You will order it again. And here's what I do. I take 2 scoops a day. I put in my coffee. I drink 2 cups of coffee before anything. Now I drink about 8 a day, maybe 10, depending on the day. But my first 2, put a scoop of collagen in. I get a frother. I mix it up. Jay, I finally figured that out. It took me 3 months to figure the frother out after ruining 3 ties and 2 shirts. I finally figured it out. You can't turn it on until it's in the cup, and you have to put it all the way down, right? Otherwise, it splashes all over you. But it took me like 15 times. In fact, I gave up on it, and I went back to a spoon because I couldn't figure it out. But so look, all you have to feel better. This is about quality of life, right? All you got to do is go to Get. It's so easy. $21. That's it. You're going to spend that. Think what you're going to spend $21 on today, right? All kinds of stupid stuff. Just go to, and probably some DraftKings crazy parlay. Just go to GetNativePath.com/Godzilla. GetNativePath.com/Godzilla, and get your Native Path. Try it for a month. If you don't feel, everybody feels better. I tell you what, Anne's been out for 4 months. She looks fabulous. Skin is better. I kept saying, "You look great. You look great." She always looks great, but I'm like, "You look even better than great." And finally, I figured out she was on collagen, and she got me on it. Right? I jump out of bed every day. I'm fresh as a daisy. Right? Check it out. GetNativePath.com. GetNativePath.com/Godzilla. Do it now. Do yourself and your family a favor.
All right. So speaking of toxic team cultures, let's just segue into what's going on in Seattle. Mike McDonald is now the new head coach for Seattle Seahawks, and things do not seem to be going awesome. On Wednesday, at least according to ESPN, 5 fights broke out, including one where DK Metcalf took his helmet off and swung it at a cornerback, Trey Brown. So we're always expecting a little bit of chippiness in training camp. It happens. These guys are going against each other for, days at a time. I think he said they went 14 out of 16 days in practice, like getting after it with each other. So guys are always going to get kind of annoyed and kind of short. Everyone's tired. Everyone's ready to, take their frustration out on an opposing team rather than teammates. But where do we draw the line? Is 5 fights excessive in a day in training camp? Like, at what point does it just start to erode how everyone feels about each other? Right?
I want to know what the plan is in Seattle. You keep the Pete Carroll thing, the Geno Smith. What's going on up there? Where are we going?
Right. Yeah. Are we just content to be mediocre forever? Because that's what it seems like they want to do.
You're talking about a rebuild in Pittsburgh, but what is Seattle doing?
Yeah.
They've removed all the pictures of the Legion of Boom, which Richard Sherman went nuts about, because they took down his picture of when he tipped Colin Kaepernick's pass up. And he went on a rant on his podcast about that. So, yeah, but I mean, it sounds like McDonald's trying to change the culture. I don't know, by erasing the history of the Super Bowl winning team. I don't know if that does it, but you can tell when you're allowing those fights to happen, you're trying to do something in camp to change it. And, a lot of the coaches don't mind some fights out there. You're not always bringing back the Tomlin, but Tomlin on day one, you saw him get a huge smile on his face when they got into a little fight. But 5's excessive. And eventually, I mean, you probably have people that are rooming together, and so it's got to be a point where either you make it a great teaching lesson if you're the coach, bring everybody in and rally around it, or you can unravel your locker room quick. So he's going to have to figure it out, and we'll see when they get back to camp.
Yeah,
I mean, look, Tom Brady made Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll made Russell Wilson. Like, I don't like Pete Carroll's politics, right? Everybody knows that. Libtard, super liberal, masked up, vax guy. Never met a vax he didn't like, right? Did vax commercial. Can't stand the guy's politics. Total libtard, okay? But he's a great football coach. And you cannot take that away from him. So you put the politics aside. I mean, this guy he was a master drafter. He drafted all those cornerbacks. And I mean, Seattle just, they always played well under him. They always played like a team. I mean, he made Russell Wilson, who right now you're seeing is a journeyman quarterback. He made him into something special. He got to Super Bowl, should have won the second one if he just hands the ball off at the end, should have had 2 wins there. And he's a great coach. And now he leaves and things are falling apart in Seahawk world. And so I think I'm not sure what McDonald's doing. I'm not sure what the culture is there. I'm not close enough to it. But it really, you can really see that Pete Carroll, if you look at his legacy and what he's done there, is probably going to go down in history as one of the best coaches in the NFL for what he's done. And I think they're really going to miss him. And even what you look what he did with Geno Smith. Here's a guy that bounced around, right? Jets, this, that. I mean, the guy had a couple starts. He loses starting position. He guy's another journeyman quarterback. I mean, he turns him into a Pro Bowler, and he's like winning games for them. So it's very tough to argue with the results that Pete Carroll has had.
Yeah. Dan, problems in Seattle? Do you think this is like an issue, or is this just new coach learning his team?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to say because, yeah, it seems like McDonald, I mean, he came in saying that he wanted to maintain the culture that Carroll would build, and it seems like he's going in the other direction. So right. I don't really know what, I mean, I think Jay nailed it. Like, what exactly is the plan here in Seattle? Like, it seems like the Seahawks are kind of a ship without a port right now. And you look at the rest of that division, I mean, the 49ers, even with the Ayuk drama, are still outstanding. The Rams seem to have things at least somewhat figured out now that McVay has his head back on straight. And as bad as the Cardinals have been, they at least seem to have a plan. What does Seattle have? Like, right. I mean,
it used to be such a tough place. That home field advantage in Seattle, you guys remember back in the day, nobody wanted to go up there and nobody won up there. Now, I know it well. I know it well from being a Sounders fan, Jay. Our home field,
our home field in soccer is pretty amazing, and the Seahawks have pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, you're only going to placate those fans for so long, man.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it just, they look like such a profoundly mediocre team that they've put together with, like I think Dan nailed it. There seems to be no real path like for them. Like there's not, they're not going to draft a good quarterback anytime soon. They just signed Geno to an extension, like they don't, the rest of they have some talent, but not a ton. Like they just look like a team that's just sort of adrift.
And they have those draft picks from Denver in that deal too. A couple remaining there. I think they're stuck in that world where you finish 9-8, and then all of a sudden the quarterback that's there is not who you want to spend a first round pick on. Yeah. And you have Geno, who's doing just enough, playing some weeks at MVP levels, and he's winning for better or worse. So you're going to get that 18th draft pick and be stuck there. So you're going to have to think out of the box a little bit,
It's almost like too good. Like it's like, if you're going to sign him to the extension, you want him to be excellent. And instead they signed him to an extension to win 8 or 9 games.
It kind of reminds me of the Detroit Red Wings at the end of their run, how that team would just keep sneaking into the playoffs, getting close year in, year out. And then when all those guys retired, the bottom just fell out completely, and they've been terrible ever since. And Seattle's doing the same thing, it seems.
Guys, what makes it so difficult for these quarterbacks from college to come into the NFL and transition? I know I hear speed of the game so much, but look at how difficult it is to like we said earlier, hit on your quarterback picks.
Just look. You know what a perfect. Sorry to jump in. A perfect example is watching them get under center and can't take a damn snap. Like that is ludicrous to me. Like bunting in baseball. Like just still teach it. I don't care if you use it all the time. You can't even take a snap in a pro form offense. So I think it just bothers me.
I
think that So I've actually thought about this question a lot, Jay, and I think that for me, what I think it is that playing quarterback in the NFL requires a tremendous amount of work. It requires a tremendous amount of study, and it requires a tremendous, just beyond practice. Like the guys that are good tend to, that's all they do. That's all they're thinking about. It's all that, when they go home, they're reading playbooks, they're watching film. And I think that the learning curve is so steep from college, where there are certain restrictions on kind of like what their expectations are. And there's just a more limited playbook. And then they get to the NFL and it's wide open. And it's just so much information that I think that a lot of players struggle with the transition, and they don't take it seriously enough in terms of learning it. So you get guys out there that only know half the playbook, 60% of the playbook. They don't really know what they're supposed to be doing in certain situations. And then you get guys that take it seriously and maybe don't have elite athletic talent like Brock Purdy, and they just work their ass off, and then they're pretty decent. But I think that a lot of it just has to do with you just have to spend so much time on it that guys just don't take it that seriously.
I mean, we could spend an hour on that alone. There's so many things that change when you go to the pros. There's no Vanderbilts in the NFL. I mean, even though there's usually 1 or 2 teams that plays like a Vanderbilt, there's still nobody at that far of a drop off. So there's that. You're 22 years old and you're completely on your own for the first time in your life. Like college, you're on your own to an extent, but you're still getting your hand held a little bit by your coaches.
And you're spending a lot of time with teammates. You don't have
that doesn't happen in the NFL.
Right.
And you're dealing with travel across the country. Now we're going to see a little more of that in college, but for the most part, that hasn't been a thing. There are just so many factors.
How about the personalities in the locker room when you go from
that's true too.
Locker room to a pro locker room?
That's a great point, Jay.
The alpha dog.
In a college locker room, a junior or senior quarterback is the leader, second to the coach. Yeah. And in the NFL, you get in there as a 22-year-old kid, you're suddenly talking to 30, 31-year-old men who have been doing this for 8-9 years
and expect to be the leader.
Yeah. If you're not doing your job, then you're going to get one of them killed.
Well, think about this too. Especially in the elite programs, the separation that these wide receivers get from the cornerbacks is crazy.
Oh,
And so sometimes like a Brock Purdy, the reason why they're so good is because they had to throw into tighter windows. They had to kind of play the way it's going to be simulated. Now it might be slower, but when you're not open, you're really open. Like Ohio State quarterbacks struggle because you have the most elite receivers just running wide open, and there's no timing involved. You see that with Kenny Pickett. He doesn't have the timing. He's just, everyone was so wide open for him. And I think that's, especially for the athletic running quarterbacks, that's the toughest transition because you can't get away with that stuff in the NFL. They're too fast. And especially if you're not elite level, like Lamar can get away with it. But if you're just, one tick under like Trubisky, you could run in college, but you can't run in the NFL.
Like, I mean, if you watched when during the draft when Belichick would break down some of the quarterbacks getting chosen, like he'd point out some plays where Drake May or somebody else would pass on a throw that wasn't open because there was somebody else more wide open on that play at the college level. Well, Belichick's saying, okay, at the NFL level, that's as open as they're going to get. So he's got to learn to make that throw. And a lot of these guys struggle with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that was an excellent question, Jay. And I think I think that all of us have clearly been spending some time thinking about it for an on-the-fly question. We all gave pretty lengthy answers. All right, so last thing of the day is golf picks, Jay. It's a little bit different because they've really only completed the first round. They're in the second round right now, and it's Saturday, so thank you, Tropical Storm Debbie, for ruining everything in North Carolina.
Oh, dear.
So
I was all over John Rahm to win the gold medal. I bet him. I 4 up with 8 holes to play. This is going down as one of the most epic collapses of all time, guys. I mean, he barely finished his top 5. He forgot how to play the last 8 holes.
Yeah, the pressure really got to him, and Scotty just turned it on. I mean, for a guy that had nothing really going for the first 2 rounds, and then he asked Ted Scott to help him read putts more, and then suddenly Ted's reading all the putts and all the
Nate,
putts.
that drove me crazy. He looked like a 5 handicap the first 2.5 rounds. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm like, that's it?
Oh yeah, you just needed your caddy to read the greens for you? Like that was the breakthrough?
I'd be like,
hey, look, guys.
Yeah, right.
I appreciate the chatter. I really do. But like, I got my DraftKings up, and I need a winner. And so
I do too. I'm just here to listen.
Panic. We're going to run out of time. I want to win. I want Nate to give me another winner. He picked 4 out of 5, and even the 5th one was in the hunt. So I want to go with Nate, and they'll go with Jay. But I got my DraftKings up now. I can see I got it right here. I'm ready to go. Right, let's go.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, you lead it off.
I've been on Aaron Rye all week long. He does play with 2 gloves, which is a little weird. He's got iron covers, which I don't know what the hell those are, but I love this kid. He makes a ton of birdies. And guys, at Sedgefield in Greensboro, it's another 20 under week. And with all this rain, they're probably playing lift, clean, in place. So the great, I like him. It's also the last tournament of the year to qualify for the playoffs. So there's a bunch of pressure. I'll come up with one other pick, Nate, but I love this kid.
Well, are we talking about what are we doing here? The Wyndham? What
the Wyndham? Yes.
Yeah, the Wyndham. Yes.
So who did you say? Right? I can't even find him on the board.
RAI.
RAI.
Oh, RAI. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's 8.5 to 1. Okay, boom. I'm going with that.
There's not a lot of value that he should be
8.5 to 1. Are you kidding me? That's great value.
All right. I'm going to go down the board a little bit here. I'm going to go. I kind of like Ben Griffin. He's 5 under right now, so he's 5 shots back of the lead, but he hasn't even teed off for the second round yet. He's 33 to 1 if you're looking for him.
No, he went up to 35 to 1.
He just looks like a guy that's sort of primed to go.
Boom, I got
nuts.
that in.
I mean, this is sort of his dream. Like, this is best case scenario course for him. He's a really good iron player, a really good putter. He hit his irons really well in the first round, putted really well in the first round. His sort of driving woes and his lack of distance don't hurt him here. So if I'm going down the board, like I kind of like the 35 to 1, just take a little swing, especially if you've got, Aaron Rye there, because this is also an Aaron Rye type of golf course. He's always going to be good on shorter courses, especially if you can find a little putting for Rye. So yeah, I think that those are the types of guys that you need to look at. I mean, and this leaderboard is mostly guys that sort of are successful on like a little bit shorter tracks. You're sort of seeing all of the usual suspects. But yeah, I think Griffin and Rye are solid picks.
All right, I just put in my 2 bets: Griffin and Rye.
I had Taylor Moore
9-1 and 35-1.
Oh yeah,
you got another one, Jay?
Taylor Moore. I had Taylor Moore circled early in the week. He's the guy. He can score like nobody else. He's a great putter.
Yeah, great.
Ryan Moore,
Taylor Moore.
Taylor Moore.
A little bit further down the board, John. Probably 60-ish to 1.
Taylor Moore 70-1. Okay, I'll bet that.
Yeah, I like that one.
Wow. All right. So big long shots this week. All right. So that's going to be it for our Saturday Pick Show. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Mitch Rogers, for the full 2 hours. Dan Angel, as always, thank you. John, thank you. And up next, you are going to be with Jay Delsing, talking a little more golf.
Right on.
WJFN, Goochland, Bon Air, Chester, 100.5, 107.7, 92.